recording.
Alrighty.
So our top
Go for it.
classic horror film.
We're doing a list of our top 5 our personal picks for our top 5 favorite classic horror movies. Classic meaning since the beginning of cinema up until I would consider the 80s, maybe even 90s, because I think I would probably throw like Freddy Krueger, Jason, and all that into classics now. Not when I was younger, but definitely now.
My classics are a little older than that.
That's why I said the beginning of cinema, because I know you have a couple from like 1920s, 19 teens maybe. So yeah.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't have Freddy without the classics.
Well, yeah. Alrighty, so you where's yours? All right, yeah, you go first.
So number 5, I would say my top classic horror film would be 1920 Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, with the director of John Robertson and main star John Barrymore. Terrifying when you see him turn into Mr. Hyde.
For those of you who don't know, that's actually Drew Barrymore's, I think, grandfather.
Yeah.
I think it's Drew Barrymore's grandfather. Just a little shout out fact for you guys.
Number 4, I would say, is 1929 French film Un Chien and Dolio. Love the movie, can barely pronounce the name, but classic scene. I'm sure if you took any cinema class, you would see the famous scene with the eye being cut open. To me, that was insane for 1929 effects. I don't think people can even fathom what that would have been like to try and pull that off.
Yeah, because I can picture it now, and it's still like... Ugh.
Makes your eyes water, like just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Number 3, 1932 Freaks. That...
I actually have not seen that one. Never seen it.
I own it. I'll educate him. Calm down. So, Todd Browning was the director of that one, and I just love the freak justice. I am obsessed with freak shows. Recently saw American Horror Story Freak Show. Favorite season so far. I'm getting up to date on the show. Calm down, people.
Right? Probably gonna be a couple people. What?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Don't stone me. Took me 6 years to get involved in that show. But Freaks, I love the justice to show someone so beautiful actually is so ugly on the inside that the freaks make her outer ugly very visible when she tries to poison the most innocent little guy on the
In the
yeah, the
Carnival family type?
Yeah. I forget
That's that movie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, see, again, I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah, Freaks.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 2, 1920, The Cabinet of Dr. Kalahari. Now, most people might not know this film, but I'm sure if there's any Tim Burton fans out there, you do know this film because that is pretty much one of the films that made him the director he is today.
It was a huge inspiration on him because
Yeah.
you look at just the set design and even the characters. Like I don't even know the character's name. What's his name in the movie? The creature or the vampire?
I forget.
Well, anyway, it's like
I haven't seen it in like a year.
Well, it's like you look at that character and it's like you could see the Tim Burton style and you can see how that movie influenced him.
Opening credit,
pretty
you
much
see
everything.
the style. Like,
Yeah, pretty much every movie Tim Burton does.
It has that
You can
quirky,
tell
dark feel. And I saw that when I was like 7 years old. Explains why I'm a little twisted.
just a tad.
And it's one of my faves. I watch it every year on Halloween. And then number 1, have to do this. 1959, House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price. Like, to me, he's a god. He's the king. I love that man. I can't get enough of it. And the scene where the cutesy girl is locked in the room, and the maid lady comes out, just It's so terrifying. I am 26 years old right now, and I still get the heebie-jeebies. I love it. And this was a hard top 5 for me because
She is a classic horror, like, buff. Everything you can imagine having to do with classic horror, she loves and she knows. Me, on the other hand, I'm kind of the opposite. I'm not a big horror movie person. I do like the classics, and there are a couple modern day or new horror movies that I have liked, and I would never have seen them if it wasn't for her, because I'm not that person. I don't go and see horror movies. So I have
educating you has been hard because you're stubborn.
I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to not wanting to watch horror movies, and it's not that I get scared or anything. It's just that's not me. And to me, horror is something that makes you lay in bed at night just with your eyes it's like you hear a sound.
Yeah,
Like, oh, God.
I mean, I have nightmares to this day still.
That's what.
And I do wake you up in the middle of the night, but
Yeah.
it's worth it.
All right, so for mine, classic horror top 5. Number 5 actually is another Todd Browning film, and that's the 1931 original Dracula movie with Bela Lugosi. I loved it because nowadays in 2017 and even for like the past 10 years, everyone's been on this vampire kick. Oh, vampires, blah, 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 blah. I actually work with a couple people who are all obsessed with vampires. Well, I love this movie because it officially kicked off the vampire craze in the world.
And they don't glitter.
Yeah, they do not glitter.
Sorry, I had to say it.
He turns into a bat and he flies around, he drinks blood. Yes. So I love Dracula, and it's a classic horror movie. Kind of a little bit of a love story too, because Dracula, he that's all he really wants. But he is a vampire. He does kill people. Number 4 is Vincent Price. It was not directed by him though. It was directed by Andre de Toth, and it is The House of Wax.
Couldn't say that to save my life.
Right? That is The House of Wax. Now, I know younger people probably know The House of Wax that came out a couple of years ago. It was
Best part about that movie, Paris Hilton dies. That's it. That's
yeah.
all I can say about that one.
That was the highlight of the movie. I mean, the second she died, I think everyone was like, yay!
I got on board.
Right? But nothing compares to the original House of Wax. If you guys have not seen it, I highly recommend it. It's it's like you look back now and it's like it's not scary, but at the time of its release, which I believe was 53, it's sorry, I'm going over notes here because I can't remember all that stuff. 53. At the time it came out, it was a very, very terrifying movie. It was the dawn of horror cinema, so it was very shocking. Number 3, one of your favorites, which I am surprised that you did not have it on your list.
I could only fit so many on my list.
Which is
we would have a novel if I could have my list.
Very true. This is a list in and itself for you. 1978's John Carpenter's Halloween, the original. That started the slasher movies.
Oh
the
my
slasher
gosh.
genres. Michael Myers. You didn't have a character like that before. I mean, yeah, sure, you had like serial killers like like Norman Bates and Psycho and stuff like that. But this one was like the first supernatural. Like, could he be killed? Can we even can we kill this guy? And the answer is really no. You can't. I mean,
well, he has no motive. It's not like Psycho Norman Bates where it's like, he's trying to be his mom, and so in his mind, any woman is like a dirty woman. Like, that's a motive, in my opinion. Mike Myers has no motive. You're there around him, he's gonna fucking kill you. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And
it was supposed to be a B movie.
Yeah,
it was never supposed to be as big as it is.
Yeah, and I love that it was a B movie. The budget was like in the
$365,000.
There you go. She knows numbers. So it's like small indie film, low budget, had no expectations. For God's sakes, Michael Myers was originally played by one of the key grips on the set.
Just happen to fit in the costume.
Just because he could fit in the costume and he was big. Like,
They did it in summer, I believe, and they had actually 2 crew members on leaf duty.
Yeah.
Which means all the leaves you see on that set, someone threw them out onto the set, and they had to pick them up at the end of the shoot.
You know, it's kind of funny, too, because when you go back and watch the movie, it's like, it takes place during Halloween, which is fall time, but when you look around, the grass is green, the trees still have green leaves on them, so it's like, you don't notice it, but when you really pay attention and really break it down, it's like, oh my god, like they did, like obviously this was filmed like in spring or summertime because
they only
all the
had
greens are still there.
2 pumpkins.
And they only had 2 pumpkins, that's all they could afford. My number 2 is another classic in my opinion, one of the best, is George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
That's a good one. Not a big fan of zombies, so...
Yeah, you're not, definitely, you're not a big fan of zombies, and
it's my fear.
It's you know, it's like you look at the zombies back then, and it's like they're just regular actors, but the way they did the makeup to make them look like the living dead
we've come pretty far since then,
yeah,
but...
I mean, with like World War Z and like those like CGI, or even I Am Legend, those CGI type zombies, or you know...
I hate those. I'd rather have Walking Dead.
Yeah, it's like, to me, it's like, this is something practical. It's like you can feel the realism. It's like you can almost reach out and touch it, and you know, it's real, and that's why I loved it. And you know, not to mention, it was one of the first zombie movies I ever saw. One of the few my mom let me watch when I was a kid.
What was wrong with our parents? Why did they let us watch this?
I don't know. There's certain movies that, like I look back and I'm like, Mom, why did you let me watch that? But you know, whatever. All right, and then my number 1, pretty obvious. I think this might be on a lot of people's list as number 1, The Exorcist.
I get why it's number 1 for you. To me, it's like when people say Citizen Kane is the best movie. It's that in horror, people always bring up The Exorcist. And yes, it was definitely terrifying. To me, it's a cult classic. And it is a cinema classic, but I don't know.
See, I love The Exorcist because, I mean, 1, it's a great story, and 2, it brought exorcism like to the forefront. Like not a lot of people knew about it.
I mean, I do love exorcisms.
or even heard about it until this movie came out, and the fact that this was somewhat based on a real story made it that much more terrifying, just to me. I mean, because this was another movie. I don't know why my mom let me watch it when I was a kid, but like she would never let me watch like a Freddy movie or a Jason movie or Chucky or anything like that. But for some reason, let me watch Exorcist. But it's like that movie, you know, scared me because this is something that could happen and has happened in real life, and that terrified me more than anything. One thing that would always get me is whenever the demon would pop up, you know, like those flashes, and it's like all in black. It's like that creepy face.
Yeah,
that would always get me. Yeah.
It's actually a woman.
I found out too. I was like, Jesus, like that's one. Like God, I feel sorry for her husband, whoever she was married to.
It's called
like,
makeup. Calm down.
Still, like, if I was her husband and I'm watching that movie, I'd be like, oh my God, that's my. Ooh.
To me, the scene where she's flying down the stairs, pretty much like.
Yeah,
reverse crab walk. That
gets
always, me every time.
You always said that definitely always gets you.
I don't like it. Did you know they actually had bees playing the entire time at the lowest frequency, just so even in silent parts of the movie, you felt uneasy?
I heard that. I don't know if it's true or if it's a myth.
I think it's true.
I would not put it past that crew to do that, though.
Well, no, it's not like they had a box of bees sitting on set. They had the sound mixing.
Well, duh. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I'm not saying they had a box of freaking bees there. Like, geez, like, no. What I'm saying is, like, I could just picture them in the sound mixing stage. It's just, the sound of bees makes everyone uneasy. Let's just put that at the lowest frequency.
Well, I'm just saying, when you hear a bee walking or flying around you always do like that.
Yeah,
no one likes bees.
Yeah, like I see a bee and I'm like, boy, I'm trying to think of an example here. But anyway, if I see a bee, I stop and I just walk all the way around as if it's a bully or something in school. So, but anyway, that's our picks for top 5 classic horror movies. Let us know what you guys think, and put in the comments below what your top 5 would be.